Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have any audio today? Yes, maybe. No, thanks. We do. Thank you. Okay, this is Welcome to My World at noon on the 18th of November. And I'll just take a couple of 3 minutes to go over a few things. This morning we had crude oil inventory was the big news of the trading morning, it looks like. And if you notice, prior to that, this deviation just did nothing but chop and chop and chop and chop. And that's all this did right here. These kinds of things, just find something else to trade because that's not going to work out very well for you. I believe if you go back over here, this was all these yellow candles at the same time. So there's a reason all this stuff coordinates. I finally threw in the towel, gave up, and put my 210 back to the original 6-tick diagnostic, which I greatly prefer. For me, it's just easier to see. I may change the colors on the candles. They kind of get in your face, but some people that doesn't bother. Um, I also want to caution you now from the time of the inventory report, we have had the same color of apex. In other words, we were being told that the trend was to the downside. Sometimes you will see them different. In other words, they will be a different, a green apex is up here while there's red apexes down here. That's basically a caution sign. When you get mixed messages, be very cautious about what kind of a trade that you're going to take. You might be able to scalp it, but that is not going to work out well as a trend trade for you. And having said that, we did get these ice lines were certainly valuable because crude oil today has not wanted to break this green ice with any any emphasis whatsoever. But once this E right here, I'm inclined to sit and watch this at 10:30 for 5 minutes or so, and then perhaps take it from right here or from the open down. Some of this is a little bit easier to see up here on the 6-tick. Just keep in mind, this is 6-tick up here. This is 12-tick. 6-tick is going to move twice as fast as 12-tick. So sometimes it will also put up these little things in here. So you need to get a better picture of what's going on by checking your eye zone chart, the sharpshooter, and see how this was really nice right here because it gave you, there would be an entry here, but you were waiting for everything to turn red and for this MVP to come in right up here. And then you had a nice trade, certainly to the, in my world, to the magnet at about 41.45. So right now we have the VIX trading about just below 18, a hair under 18. We'll see if that backs off a little bit. Bonds started to turn around and they're going up right now. With this kind of choppy stuff in the afternoon, we might see some really nice trends to trade crude oil with. So Of the indices this morning, the strongest one early on was the NQ. So I know we have a lot of people in here that trade the NQ, and it should have done very well for you. The TF was a little more difficult to trade today because it was a little more choppy. But somebody was asking me how to use. I think Fabian was asking how to use the DAX and perhaps the FTSE for an indicator of what's going to happen. One of the things that I recommend, a lot of this depends on how much you have in your computer resources, as to how many charts you can put up, how many monitors are you running. So how much monitor space do you have, and how much ability will your computer handle? But if you're looking to plan for the future, to to either add on to your computer resources or completely replace an old system or whatever it is you're doing, I don't recommend that you don't need really big charts of a lot of this stuff, that you just need an overview for. So for me, 30-minute candles on a little small chart, just about like what we have up here on crude oil, like this. But if you can make 4 of those and put all of the US indices across there, either across or down, so you can glance at just one quick glance and notice if they are all moving together, one is clearly leading the charge, or if they're all together. And because now you just kind of have to think about this. What time is it in Europe when it's what time is it in the US? The German and the German market, which is the DAX, it's like the equivalent of the DAX is the equivalent of the Wall Street 30. Here is a very good leading indicator as to what the US indices are going to do. That DAX can be traded on NASDAQ. You can also pull up a NASDAQ. On your NASDAQ, you can get a chart of the DAX, and those you can detach, so you can move them around to another monitor or resize them and set up the time frame for, say, 30 minutes and make them small enough to track those candles. You can also do that off of the Nadex, and I believe Ninja supports it also. With I know Nadex supports the FTSE, but there are also traders that put the DAX, the FTSE, and the CAC up together. The CAC is the French DAX, so to speak. But then you will see, because what is happening in Europe during the busy part of their day is about 3 o'clock in the morning for the rest of us. And some of you early birds, or if you're in a time zone, I think we have some people in here that are located in Europe. Those make really good indicators for the U.S. markets and vice versa, depending on which you're trading at what time. So this is a matter of getting organized. Maybe one of these days I'll put a post, if it would help, in the forum about which markets correlate with what, because if not necessarily to trade with, but to give yourself a little clue, you're thinking about you want to take a long here, you're pretty sure that the apex indicators are telling you to take a long here, but you just want another little confirmation. Where can you go to get that, say, a second opinion? You can go to a completely different market that correlates with that. So I don't know if that's helpful. Let me know, and I'll try to put that in there. It's not absolutely necessary, and I know we have people in here who are just beginning, and you get overwhelmed with all that stuff. That's just way too much more than what you need right now. So let me see. We got a couple of questions in here. This is a new person. Do I have training videos? iZone, yes. Jonathan and John, what I have is there's a post. If you put in that search window, how I find trades in my world, I did a post, and there's marked up charts in there. Keep in mind, it's before we had some of this sophisticated stuff we have now, but that is basically the way I trade. It's I kind of walk through exactly how I do it because I was getting a lot of questions about that. Then there is a second part to that, and I put that in, I think a few weeks ago. We did not have the sharpshooter. We had trend catcher, I think. But you can find those in the forum. And then there were a couple times I did THT on a Saturday morning where we walked through exactly at the time what I was looking for and what I was seeing. So if that helps, that would be the place I would suggest you start, is to pull up that part of the forum and look at that. I put those charts with screenshots in there because it's more difficult when everything's moving and you're trying to look at this and that, and then it changes and it moves, to look at charts that are stopped but marked. And if you will learn to mark your charts like I did in that forum post, and do that every single day religiously, where the entry is, whether you took it or not, that's not the point. Where the entry is, where you would have reasonably exited, is there a better exit now that you look at it? What does that look like? And then mark how many ticks that would have gotten you to do that, because it helps develop your eye for an estimate quickly of, if you take a trade right here or there, is there enough reward room in that market to give you a reasonable reward for taking the risk of that trade? So in other words, you don't want to be taking short trades right into the low of the day, because while that may work out for you about, I don't know, 80% of the time, it's probably going to bounce off of there. And then you're going to sit there and say, well, gee whiz, I didn't like that so much. So it's very helpful to mark those charts. I also wanted to point out to you, we have a lot of comedians in this room. That's what makes this room so much fun. I sat here and died laughing at Anthony. He put the absolute attitude that we all need to have. It's incredible. He said he was like Simba waiting in the bushes to pounce. And that's exactly what you have to do. You have to have the patience of a predator to wait until you get exactly what you want at the exact minute you want it, and then that's when you move. That's very good. That just tickled my funny bone. And yes, David, is there a link to the forum? There is. I'm too dumb to figure it out. Just go to the search and put how I find trades in my world in that search. Or just put in my world, I think. I don't know, but how that thanks, Jeff. Thank you very much. Always pays to have the smart people in here. They know where to find stuff. Great. Thank you. Yes. There's your link. Okay. So that's what we have to do. We have to be like the predator. We're waiting for just exactly what we want, and then you pounce. And that's when it will work the best. If you get impatient, if you jump out in front of it and scare it half to death, you're not gonna enjoy such a nice meal. And the last thing you want to do is try to chase it, because it will outrun you every time. And that bus driver can be a real jerk. You start chasing these trades, that bus driver will stop for a second and you think, oh good, he's going to let me on, and then he'll back up and run right flat over you. So don't chase trades. You have to be at the bus stop, wait for the bus, wait to get picked up, and ride the bus to the bank. The other thing I just wanted to point out to you is that I just checked this a couple of minutes ago, and now I clicked on something and it disappeared. But our contract volume is definitely in our favor. There are some still, the December contracts will trade through tomorrow, and that will be the last day they're going to trade. So the volume is way over to the January contract. And I think that's about it. Sometimes after 2:30, when I come on next, I'm around for a little bit. So if you have any questions, sometimes that's a good time for me to spend some time and go over whatever you'd like. And I'm happy to do that. You just have to ask. So this has been my view from my world in Apex land, brought to you by Apex Investing. I'll see you about 2:30. Thanks.